Hey, what's up? This is Hans with Requests for Music, and today I'm back again with a tutorial on Synclavier. And we'll be looking at how to make sequences, but not sequences as I did earlier with using um, different partials, but we'll be using it with using one partial and using time slices to do that. Which is a lot more laborious, but in the end you're much more flexible, because if you look at your sine waves, and I'll select my sine wave first. I'll select my simple sine wave and go out of this editing. Normally, if I would do it with using partials, I have 12 partials, so that would mean 12-step sequencing and nothing more, and you couldn't combine that with a melody. So that's where it ends. So what I would like to do is do a lot of stuff using maybe one or maybe two partials for a sequence, and that's it. Yeah. So how would we go about doing that? We'll make time slices for every step, because as you well know, we can morph from fade from one tone to another, from one timbre to another timbre, and that each and every slice that you make and every slice that you set on your timeline here can be a complete new sound. So if I press my key, now I only have this sine wave. But for instance, if I press this, and this is set at seconds now, so this is 5 seconds further where I would have my next tone. So if I would set my next tone to be sort of a saw wave, it would fade in 5 seconds from that one step to the other. So that's the way of building morphing sounds, and each step can be more complex than the other. So if I slide this back to about 2 seconds and I make a new one, and I start using the square wave, for instance, there it would go from the simple sine wave to the sawtooth and back to the square wave. But as you probably also know, is that you can transpose all of those settings or all those time slices separately. So if I transpose this one, so I select the slice and then set this up to maybe 12, so that's 1 octave up. It would go up from that sine wave to a sawtooth, being an octave up, and then back to the original, or to the other square wave again. But what I showed you earlier was that you could use fade times and delay times. Yeah, so fade time is the time it takes from this first step to go to the second step, and really morphing. But on the other hand, if I would delay my second one and wouldn't fade, it would switch straight from the first to the next one. So if I would set my delay time for this one to 2 seconds and set my fade time back, and as you see, if I set my delay time for this one, it just moves the actual slice over, but it will move it back out again now. So now I have 2 seconds of sine wave, and then it will suddenly jump to this octave up for the for the sawtooth, and then it'll fade back to the square wave at this moment. So if I would delay the last one again for 2 seconds and set my fade, delay it for 2 seconds and set my fade time to 0, then it would jump from a sine wave up to a square sawtooth at 1 octave, and then back to my square wave, which was an octave lower again. Okay, so that's the way how you could actually make those sequences. So if I would want to build, and let's first, I'll delete a couple of those sizes again. So I start off with my original sine wave again. So let me see, say that I wanted to make a melody like this. That's a well-known older sequence. I think it's from Vangelis, and I'm not quite sure which song it was. But anyway, if I try to remake that, then my first my second step, and I'll just put a couple of steps. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then it would need to. Oops, it comes up at 12. So then it will need to go back to the first part. So that's 8 steps. So I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So I got a 8-step sequence, and they obviously need to be apart the same amount of time, all of them. So if I just go through them, and I'll switch this to 1 second, and to delay time of, or fade time of none, and do that for all of them. So 1, 0, 1, 0. And as I already said, this is a lot more laborious than the other way, where you have now you have to work on all of those steps. And as a matter of fact, you hardly hear any difference at the moment, apart from the fact that since the first step that I did on the last one was a sawtooth, it tried to sort of recreate that. It kept that in its memory, so they were still there. So now I'm back again, off on all. Oops, there's something off here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. 8 of those steps, but since there's nothing in between, it still sees all of them as normal sine waves, and nothing specific, nothing spectacular there. Okay, but now let's first of all, I'll transpose all of them. So actually, it's the second one will be the same as the first one. Third one needs to be an octave up, so I could just set that by sliding up. The fourth one is a fifth up, so that's 7. And the next one is 10 up from the starting point. Next one is 7 up again. Next one is 5th up, 5 up. And I think the last one was 3 up, something like that. And then we should be starting over. Now the complete timing is off. It's way too slow. So we could be doing 2 things. We could actually go into the normal screen and switch this off and change the frame speed, because the frame speed takes care of how long it takes to go from one step to the other. This is set at 1 at the moment, so each step takes 1 second. So if I put this up at 2, for instance, and it's too bad that you can't double click things like set values in this. Okay, that won't do it. It's still too slow. So we have to change things more to this. I'll put this at 1 again, because double clicking doesn't give me the way to edit the values, but it does go to the default setting of 1 at the moment. But anyway, I'll go back in here into my screen, and I'll zoom in, and I'll set these settings differently. So I need to do that either manually, and I could do it like this and just try to get it as close as possible, because that will still work. It's just not as precise, but on the other hand, it's a bit more alive than when you get all of those timing perfect. It depends on what you want. Obviously, if the timing is perfect, it will be really that really old sequencing stuff, but still, something like that. And it's still a bit slow, so I'll drag them even further back. So at a quarter of a second, I think that will probably do the job. So all of those back to almost the setting that I need. So then I've got all of those. Something like that. The only problem now is that it doesn't repeat. And obviously what I could do is go back in here and put my switch my repeat on. Now, only thing is that it's far too fast, so I need to take the rate back to get that fitting again. But the other problem is that if I play a melody, then also the melody will be repeated. So the other way of working with this is just keeping track of my timing myself and just re-hit the button again or re-hit the key. So I've got this set up on a C as at the moment, C, a middle C. Oh, switch my repeat back off, sorry. Okay, so that works, but it doesn't really do what I want it to do yet, because there needs to be, first of all, the sound needs a bit more filtered kind of analog sound. So I need to take care of that. And maybe it needs to be lower as well. Something like that, because I think the original is a bass kind of sound. So I could go into my mixer and take back my value for my octave. So now the C will be in the 220 range, where obviously the 220 is the A, of course, but still it brings it back an octave. For the rest, I need some modulation because I need more of a sawtooth kind of wave. So I'll put up the modulation, and then at least the sound is different. But obviously, for the sound actually to be sort of that filtery sound, I need more of the filter to be used on each and every note. So I'll try to build the same sound of the sort of sound that I need first. So I'll switch this to mute, and I'll switch this one on, give it some volume, and give it the same kind of modulation. I've got this one set at 108, so I'll set this up as well on 108, and I'll put this back on 220. Okay, so now what do I need? I obviously now I need some envelope to get rid of, or to simulate that filter sound. So if I put my sustain down, I could do something like this. It's a very, very simple way, of course. So then I would get the melody like something like that. That's obviously what is needed at the moment. So now what I've got the attack at 0.03, which is good enough, and I got a decay time of 0.6, so that would mean that it's 0.6 seconds away. So what I could try to do is, because that's the harmonic envelope, what I could do is try in here to sort of rebuild that with extra time slices in there. So what would I need? I'll put this on, put this one on mute and unmute the top one. So I've got that one again, got the same sort of sound, obviously, because it's got the same FM amount. And I go into my time slices. So, and look at this one. And what I will need now is a sound in here, or an extra point in here. Let's see, what did I have as an envelope? I had 0.6. That's longer than this, but I'll first try and see how it works. So if I put one very near, a time slice very near to the next point that was actually making the put that one at 0.25. If it's very near to the new step, so to speak, and I'll just lower my modulation on this one, then I get the same effect, yes, because then the modulation is gone. And actually already the envelope does something like that, because I could try. The envelope, it doesn't really work that way, because if I put my sustain down and I put my decay up to that same 0.6, which I had, then only the first note will get that same sort of sustain or that same envelope being worked, because for the rest this one fades out and I don't have any new harmonic envelope being triggered by the next note. So the only thing that you hear is the rest of the sine wave, which is in the amplitude envelope. So I need to get rid of that by going into this and again setting this. And I got my... Let's first of all put this back again. So go into my time slice, select this one, I'll take out my modulation again, and maybe even do something to my volume. But first of all, let's bring this back quite a bit so you can hear the difference a bit more. Now the only problem is that there's too long time between this and this note, so what I get is a fade from here to there. So what I could do again is give this a bit more delay time to get it back to that 0.25, get rid of my fade time, and then I would get something like that. So now I could put this one and work on all of those modulations, and then I need obviously to get all of those points close enough and all of those points good. Again, it is quite laborious, but you can do quite nice stuff with that, because if you need other timing, then obviously you can just slide these over, and that way you can get a different kind of delay. So if you time this good enough, so it's more of a 3 kind of feel, yeah, like how's that called in English? Not quite sure. A triol in Netherlands, in Dutch. Anyway, so this is the way to sort of rebuild that kind of stuff, yeah. So you can make very complex stuff here. So if I wanted this more to be, and you could even do that with the next one again. Oh. Like that. So if I would just put all of those notes in between, and so I would have to copy that, for instance. I could just paste it in here, and obviously then I still have to take care of some values, but that could be sort of the fastest way of doing that. So put that there, paste it in. Not quite sure if I did it there. Yeah, paste. Put one in there, paste. Put it in there and paste. One more over there. And I think this was my last one. Something like that, and I wanted the full second ones, or the new ones, to be that sine or that square sawtooth wave. Sorry, jeez, messing up. Sawtooth, 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 and the last one as sawtooth as well. Okay, and the last one, yeah, I could still put one in just to be sure. Copy and paste one there as well. And then I would need to put this at 0.3 at 3 transposition as well. Otherwise you hear that it's fading. So now I have this kind of thing anyway. So, well, I hope you understand. You can do lots and lots of stuff to that, and you can even click in between and change the shape of the sound, so it changes over time in that same period. And of course, if I go back into my mixer and I change back my frequency modulation a bit, I can change the overall sound. So what I could do, for instance, is just maybe use the key dynamics to make sure that it only works on one key. For instance, say that I use my C2 now, for instance. So if I just drag these down and just take that there, and now, for instance, make sure that my melody uses partial 2, so I can just and obviously it doesn't do anything at the moment because I'm still working on this. See. And then obviously I still have to play that first partial, so maybe changing a bit to my fine-tuning for the partials, for the frequency modulation so it shifts a bit in sound, and I've also added a bit of fine-tuning on the chorus part for this. And, well, maybe add some changes to the overall setting for my effects. And now I can work on my second tune, or the melody again. And that one needs a longer tone. And maybe it could use sort of a filtering kind of sound in the beginning. I'm just trying something, and it's not meant to be a clone of the original music. But I want it to be a bit more sharp, so I need perhaps some more frequency modulation in there, and otherwise I could just add some extra harmonics in there. And the easiest way of building more complex tones is using the modulator to modulate the carrier. And otherwise, if you know exactly which harmonics you need, you can put them in on the carrier side, yeah, because every modulator value here is being used on a carrier harmonic. So if you have a carrier here, then all of this is sort of reflected on both sides of the harmonic value in the carrier. So I've got a part here, but the part below the lowest one is being filtered or cut off, so that won't work. But on this one, I get actually harmonics on this side here and on this side here. So actually what I'm sort of building is this kind of wave. Yeah, so by using this modulator. And that can build really very complex shapes, and the stronger the modulation is, the stronger these values are. So anyway, if I take this out, I'm a bit more I can be a bit more how do I say that? I can do lots of stuff without being too messy, because as soon as I put one up here, I've got a lot of that modulation, and still obviously I can put the volumes of those down, so I can sort of rearrange that. But anyway, if I want a bit more sharp, a bit more crispy sounds, I can do stuff like this. Too high becomes a bit more belly, as you can bell-like, as you can hear, and otherwise I can use some very low values in here to do that kind of stuff. Okay, so we got something like that, and if I need a bit more, I still could work with this and maybe higher these values to get the bit more sharp edge, something like that. And again, by copying all of those partials over and detuning them, I get a bit more thick sound. So if I would go into my normal screen again, select this one, copy it here, and maybe paste it a couple of times over here. So paste it here and paste it here. Then I will go back into my mixer and perhaps put both of those to the outside, maybe detune a bit, so detune the first one, detune the last one, maybe fine-tune a bit on the chorus as well, and maybe even a bit on the partial itself. Something like that. And I could even, if I wanted to, for instance, delay one of those. So say that I delay the middle one because I've got through those partials. If I get even a slightly thicker sound, yeah, and I could still change the peak value, because the peak value is how high the filter is actually set at the moment. So I could still do stuff like that. And I could even, because go back into my normal screen again and put my glide portamento on, yeah. Then this melody that I'm playing will still catch this portamento, while the other sound is not really being played, but they do interfere. I have to put the volume a bit up and get rid of a bit of the portamento, get big into my mixer again. And still, if I wanted to be a bit faster, I could still select this first partial. The sound itself could actually use a bit more release on the sound. So I could select all of them, go back into my normal screen, go into my envelopes and change that. So I could put some release in there. And if I wanted, for instance, the third one to be a bit more sharp, I could actually play with that peak and decay stuff again. Maybe turn the volume down a bit. Something like that. Maybe even put some vibrato on it. So, well, like that. And if I needed, because as most of you may know, is that the melody goes up. So what I could do, obviously, is change the rate, or change this dynamic range of this key, of that one, and bring it up as well. So I would probably have to go here. So that means that these notes will have a slightly smaller range. So then I'll okay, I'll leave it at that for this time, and hope you enjoyed this, and see you back later. Cheers, bye-bye.